Well, when you work with Google Analytics, you're using cookies, and one of their terms and conditions is that you have to have a privacy policy. You have to be communicating with your audience on how you're using their data. And so when you're using cookies, it's very, very important to make sure you have that trust with your audience. What are you doing with my data? So very, very plain English, I hope, what I actually do, what information I collect, and how I use it. So when I rebuilt this in Angular a few weeks ago, that was an excellent learning experience, but I really wanted to host it in the best way possible. So before that, I had just been I picked a hosting company that was super cheap, hosted my website there. Yeah, it was good and easy, but it wasn't hands-on. I didn't really learn too much out of it. So I thought it would be an excellent way to learn more about AWS. So again, this is something else I've been working with for a really long time, but having the opportunity to be hands-on and learning the best is the way that I learn best. So what I've got here is some hopefully pretty straightforward instructions on how you could also host your own personal site on AWS. First, I'll go through a very simple and cheap option, which is Amazon S3. And then I'll go through Elastic Beanstalk. So that's a PaaS, which is Platform as a Service offering. The idea behind that is that it helps you set up servers without having to actually interact with the servers. So you get the best of both worlds. You get the server that you don't have to touch it. You can if you want, but you don't have to. So I'll start off with Amazon S3. So, and by the way, the only reason I'm talking about AWS is because that's what I know. No preference over this Azure or Google Cloud. I tried Google Cloud. It was really awesome. Got something working in like less than an hour. But AWS is what I've been personally researching a lot about. So that's why I'm using that. So in order to start, you have to have some content. And this is a very messy folder of my little Angular site. So you can see I've got a few different components, a couple of personal projects. By the way, I got serious about my personal website when I got serious about my career and wanted to actually showcase the sort of things that I can do and work on. So that's why I have a little bit of content, not a lot, but a little. A blog about business requirements, so BA in a past life and things that I know about. Not much at the moment, but after tonight there will be one more blog post there. And the privacy policy. So all of this turns into my little Angular site here. And in order to get this into S3, because it's just a very static website, I can just upload the build files. So I've done that already, and you can see everything is just here. So what I'm going to do in order to get this into S3 is use the AWS CLI, the command line interface. This is quickest and easiest. There's definitely instructions on AWS's website on how to install and set up the CLI, and this is just going to go straight into the commands. So the first thing I want to do is create a bucket on Amazon S3. So S3 is just a simple storage service, S3. It is just completely flat file storage. I'll go there and I'll show you my buckets. Pretty much folder structures, and here's one I prepared earlier. Oh, that's something else. But you can see it's just files. Like accessing these won't do anything at the moment. I have to actually configure a bucket if I want it to actually host a website. So let's go do that. First thing I want to do is create my bucket. So the command for that, AWS S3 MB for make bucket, S3 demo bucket. So with bucket names, they are unique, similar to DNS names. So you might not get the first one that you want, but luckily this one wasn't taken. So following that, now I have my bucket. If I go ahead and refresh, there it is. So it's got nothing right now. Let's put some content in it. So there's all the stuff that I want to put in. So in order to move this to my AWS bucket, the command that I'll use is sync. Sync everything to S3 demo bucket. Now, if I just hit this command right now, all it will do is upload my content to the bucket, which is great, but only I'm going to have access to it because the default is that it's private and the owner has access. So that's not very useful when you're running a website. You want everyone to access it. So what I'm going to do here is set the access command, I think it stands for access mailing list, public read. And there it goes. So now if I go back here and refresh, all of my stuff is uploaded. Awesome. But my static website hosting is disabled, so that means I still can't access this as a website. If I was to give someone this URL, it's accessible, but it's nothing. So what do I want to do in order to make it work as a website? That is AWS S3 website. So setting this command will set my bucket as a website, but I still have to set my index document to index.html. Awesome, that's done. So now the way to access this so I've already populated it because I tried this earlier. But once you've done that, the URL is going to be your bucket name .s3-website- the region you've created it in. And this is what you set when you set up the AWS command line interface. And there we go. So that was super easy. Yeah. And this is super cheap. I think hosting a website in S3 cost me less than $1 a month.
Is that an additional cost that attach the website hosting to S3 bucket?
So no, so S3 costs based on, I forget the exact rules, but it's based on transfers and the amount of storage that you store. Right. And it's really, really cheap. Just less than $1 a month was the total cost for running S3.
And you can obviously find the domain name for that as well.
Yeah, you have to get your domain name separately, but you can get that through AWS. But yeah, on top of the domain.
Do you pay for the domain name?
Yes, you need to pay for a domain name. This domain, no.
Yeah, I mean, see, but your custom one.
Your custom one, yes. But
you're paying like per month?
that's just the same as you buy from any DNS hoster. So for example, my personal one is like $15 a year or something like that.
Is the pricing not based on the number of clicks or number of visits on your site? Is the pricing not based on that?
That would be through data transfer. So the more data you're transferring and storing, the more it will cost.
So if it's just plain visits on your website, doesn't price it on that?
I don't believe so.
The visits will be translated to data, and if you're not serving very big files, this means you can have more people. Yeah.
No, exactly.
Can you run more than one site? And is it effective?
You can run as many buckets as many sites as you like. Yeah. So through this, you can run. There might be a limit. I don't know off the top of my head, but you can run more than just one website. Yes.
And what about storage out there? How many buckets can you create? I mean, is no limit to storage here?
I don't believe there's a limit. No.
You can put a number of content out there, size.
Yeah. So S3 is designed to hold massive amounts of storage, and it's incredibly reliable as well. And incredibly durable, so you don't have to worry about your stuff getting deleted.
And I can share with the different sites also?
Sorry?
Sharing is there?
What do you mean by sharing?
Sharing content with other sites. So if
example?
I'm hosting one side of mine and my friend wants to host another side, I want to share data with them, is it possible?
Yes, if it's publicly accessible, then yes, it's just a public directory where anyone can download your content.
Okay. So they have to store in their own place.
And how we have to configure the SSL certificate if we want to host this website on HTTPS?
That's something else you can do through AWS. I won't go into that, but that's certainly possible.
So how do you, because before when you run AWS, create the bucket, where do you know, do you have to specify that it has to be in, let's say, Australia East region or the US?
Yeah, you have to set your region when you configure the Amazon command line interface.
Oh, okay.
So when you go through the first time setup, you have to configure it. You have to set up a user in your AWS account just for the CLI, or not just for, but that's a good way to do it. And you have to set your default region as well. And in this case, AP Southeast 2 is Sydney region, so that's the one I like to use.
So when you say default region, I was going to ask you, does it act as a CDN or does it not act as a CDN?
This particular one does not act as a CDN. There is a way to do it, and there is a way to do it through S3 as well, but not what I've demoed.
So behind the scenes, like, is there any web server working on this, like Apache or?
No, so that's the next part. Excellent segue. So this is just static. If you want to be running something more complex, if you want to be running a server, then you'll have to have a different option. So what I'm going to demo, and what I've been playing with myself, is Elastic Beanstalk. So that's what my website is currently running on. This is PaaS, Platform as a Service offering, which means that when I just click a button, it creates it for me. And we're going to go through that right now. So I've already created my application, and I have an environment existing. So if I want to create a new application, I do that right here. So here you can see web server environment or worker environment. So the application is very, very simple, just the application name. What I'm going to get into now is creating a web server environment. So I'm just going to be clicking through and setting the default settings to get your own Angular site up and running. There's definitely more customization you can do, but this is going to be quick and cheap. So, disclaimer on that, this is definitely going to be more expensive than Elastic Beanstalk because you're running servers.
Yeah.
So when I'm setting this up, I want to select what platform my servers are going to run on. So I'm going to select node.js, and it goes to a load balancing environment straight away, but that's going to be expensive. So I'm going to go to single instance. For my own personal site, I don't really need that load balancing. I'm not going to get more than 5 clicks. So then you can select sample application or your own application, uploading a zip file, or if you've got something stored in S3, you can leverage that as well. I'm going to upload my own and something that I prepared earlier as well. So I'll just click into this so you can see my demo.zip. This is just what I need to run my app in production. So nothing else, it's already built, it's ready to be served. And for this example, I've just used Express to act as a server. So again, you've got to pick a DNS name. It's automatically given this for me. This DNS is free because it's just part of Amazon, but you probably wouldn't want to use this permanently, but it's a good option as well. So then if you want a database or inside a VPC, I'm just going to say no to those. So by default, it's picked a really small server. That's great. That's all I need, and it's going to be cheap. I'm not going to select a key pair there, and you can put in an email address so you can get notified about whether like your server health and stuff. I'm not going to do that either. Health reporting I'm going to leave that as enhanced. So again, that's just reporting on your server health. And root volume, I'm just going to leave that as default as well. I don't need that. You can select, you can put names for your servers. So if you want name, web server, tags, sorry, not names. And permissions. So everything in Amazon acts on permissions. You can go very, very detailed with this and select only certain roles to access certain elements of AWS, but for this one, I'm going to leave it as the default. And there we go. So, launch. So now what this is doing in the background is setting up my servers. It's setting up node.js, installing the dependencies that I need. That'll take a moment.
Do you get logged into a certain version or?
No, so you can change the version.
Like, do they have Node 6 or 11?
Let's go into this one. So configuration. And this one is running 7.6.0.
Cool.
They do have only very specific versions. And I forget how to see the list of that. Unfortunately, it's not here. You have to manually type that, which is frustrating. But they do have very specific versions that you can run on.
Yeah, I asked this because I knew that, or hear that the Lambda function serverless thingy is limited in versions.
That's correct. Lambda as well, limited in versions that you can run. So by default, it runs with Node version 6.10 and runs Nginx. You can configure that.
Try HTTP2?
Sorry?
Have you tried using HTTP2?
No.
Nginx itself, I think, still has issues with HTTP2 anyway.
So you can see all the cool things that Elastic Beanstalk is doing to set this up. So it started the create environment. It's using an Amazon S3 storage bucket to store any environment data it needs. It's created an Elastic IP for me, so this is going to be the static IP address for my server. It's created the security groups, so again, like how the rules for people accessing my servers. So it's launching my servers. EC2 is the general area for AWS, what it calls, I forget what it's called now, but it's the instances. I forget what EC2 stands for. Elastic Cloud Compute, I think.
Oh.
But yeah, that's just your instances on demand.
So can you get access to that one? Because like if you need to shoot into it or remote desktop.
Yes, you can get access. So where I didn't set a key pair, if you wanted access to your servers, that's where you would set that.
I think all this can be also done using CLI.
Yes. This one, the reason I didn't use CLI for Elastic Beanstalk is because it's a different CLI to the S3. You've got to install that separately. And I just thought the console was much better for explanation. So while that's going, what I'll do here is upload this same version to my existing site. So to make an update to my current environment, just as easy as uploading my code like that. So we'll go check on my other one. Ah, there you go. It's already done. So you can see the new URL. And I've actually made an update. So what I've done to demonstrate this working is put a new blog post, and then you can see it.
Yeah.
So if you forget any of the commands, I've already put them here. I've also included links on how you can go and set up the AWS CLI, things you need to know. So unfortunately, it does take a couple of minutes, but there you go, all done. And my main website has updated as well, so let's check it out. There you go. That is done and updated. So like I said, this is definitely more expensive. I think I pay somewhere between $10 and $20 a month when I'm running an Elastic Beanstalk server. But again, your usage is going to vary based on how many servers you're running, what size servers you're running. If you've got a really small website, it's going to be cheap, but if you've got something which is going to serve a lot of traffic, then you're going to need more than just the T1.micro, and you're going to pay more for that as well.
Make sure you disable, otherwise we're going to pay next month.
Sorry?
Make sure you disable.
Yes.
A lot of people will be visiting it after tonight.
Let's do that right now. So there's my demo, not my main one, my demo. and I can just terminate that. And that is being deleted. All of the things that Elastic Beanstalk created in order to run this are being deleted, so I won't pay for them. Cool. Any other questions?
Have you played with Lambda?
A little. I got a Hello World working.
Just because if with any reason your Node.js is crashed, then what's going to happen? The AWS will execute your node again, or you need to do something?
Sorry, say that again?
If there is some problem with your application, for example, and then node is crashed, then what's going to happen?
So if you set up load balancing, then that's how you can have one server be not healthy and it will fail over to the healthy server. To be completely honest, I haven't played a lot with the self-healing. There's certainly capability within Amazon to do self-healing, auto-scaling configurations. So there is the capability to set up an environment which is as reliable as you can possibly get. There's also 3 data centers within Sydney, availability zones, they say, so that if something happens with one availability zone, you can have servers in others and you can fail.
I think the question is more like, if the node process stops, will it turn it on again, or will I have to go manually and start the website again?
Yes.
To be honest, it hasn't happened to me. I believe it should self-heal, but I'm not 100% sure. That's why it does the constant health checks, so that you can respond to those events. And the good thing about Elastic Beanstalk is that you can just destroy it and start again.
Just a small and trivial question. You just deleted that environment that you did not require. So do you need to pay for it?
I pay for what I used. And for EC2, I believe you pay up to an hour. So even though that was only running for a couple of minutes, I will pay an hour, but that's like 5 cents or 10 cents or something like that.
Okay, because you said it bases on the time of the whatever you import and export.
For S3, it's based on data transfers, but for servers, when you're running a server, you are charged for every hour that it's running. Even if nothing is serving it, even if no traffic hits it, because it's running, you'll pay for it.
Data transfer also means transferring to the visitors of your website, not just export.
Yeah.
How much do you usually pay for the S3 static website?
Less, I've personally paid 70-80 cents a month. It's really not a lot for S3. And that's definitely the route that I would suggest if you're just hosting something static.
Do you connect it with a CNAME, or how do you connect the DNS to S3? Is there an IP? Is there?
Yeah, when you do it
CNAME?
With Amazon, you can do it through Route 53, and that's where I've got my domain, and you can just connect it to your AWS resources because it's through AWS. So I've got my domain name running directly to my Elastic Beanstalk environment, this one. Cool. That was it.
Can I have one last question? How do you get your Express to serve your Angular application? What was your Express the server?
Just the server.js. Very, very simple. Oops.
Is it doing server rendering? Is it?
So very, very simple. When you use Elastic Beanstalk, it will run your app with npm run start as the command. So npm run start node server.js.
Are you doing any Angular server rendering stuff?
No. I'm still quite new to Angular, about 3 weeks.
It's about time.
So what was the rule for Nginx? I saw something over there that it's using Nginx also.
Yes.
You're using Node.js to, publish your site, but why is that?
So this is what Elastic Beanstalk does by default. I didn't configure anything to do with Nginx. That's why I say make sure your site runs with npm run start, because that's what your server will run.
Thanks a lot, Kelly.
Cool. Thank you, everybody.